Hello, sweet friends. It's Sarah at Crochet with Coffee, and thank you so much for joining me for our last week of our winter to spring crochet along. So today we are just going to be adding the extra details to our blanket. We finished all of the pieces last week, and that was the flower. We got the center of the flower petals. We have the leaves of the flower. Then we go into our transition piece that is taking us into the winter portion where we have our rectangles in blue, we have our triangles in blue and cream mixture. And today we are going to be adding just the slightest little border to tie it all together, along with these really fun tassels to finish off our winter to spring blanket. So let's get started on this section and get this blanket all finished up. All right, now we're going to add our border, and we are going to start at the right side where our points are here. All right, so with a slip knot on my hook, I'm going to start in the double crochet of this cluster right here before the corner space, and I'm going to attach my yarn to that. I'm going to attach it with a standing single crochet. So I'm just going to go in the back loop only. If you want to do both loops, you can. I just like the nice decorative ridge it leaves when you work in the back loop only. So that's what I'm going to do for this. So I have my slip knot on my hook. I'm going to go in the back loop only of that stitch, pull up a loop. I've got 2 loops on my hook, wrap around and pull through both of those loops, and that is a standing single crochet. And I worked in the last chain of this corner. In the seam, I'm going to do a half double crochet right in the middle of that seam there. And then continue up the triangle by working in the remaining chain that's there. And then I'm just going to work back loop only all the way up the side of this triangle until we reach the point, and then I'll show you what we're going to do up there. All right, so once we get to the chains of the point of our triangle, I'm going to single crochet in the back loop of that chain in the first one. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to single crochet in the second chain of that corner. All right, and then you're going to single crochet all the way down this side of your triangle. But I want you to take a look at the point here in just a second. So this point has a nice space there. That is where our tassel is going to end up going. So when we get ready to put our tassels on our blanket, that is the space that we're going to be using for that. So I'm going to work the rest of the way down this triangle. Working back loop only with my single crochets. And when you have worked into the last double crochet of this triangle, I'm going to go and work in the stitches that fall between these 2 triangles here, and I'm just going to do a single crochet somewhere in there. It's okay if it lands somewhere random. We're just trying to anchor this border to the actual blanket while we work on these points. So then we're just going to continue up this side of the next triangle the same way. So go ahead and work all the way across this top of your blanket, and I'll meet back up with you when we reach the opposite end, and I'll show you how to work down the side of the blanket. So when you get to the bottom of your triangle and you have worked in all of your double crochets, we're going to put a half double crochet into that seam between, so half double crochet in that seam between the stitches. And that's just going to bring up the height that we are lacking here in this join. So we're going to bring up the stitch height to match the single crochet that we have there. Then we're just going to continue working a single crochet in each of the double crochets on this side of our blanket all the way down across the edge. But when we get to our seams, we are going to be doing exactly the same thing that we did in that space between the triangle and the rectangle. And we are going to do a half double crochet into those seams to just bring up the height. Because if you just work a single crochet in there, it's going to make the stitches dip down just a tiny bit. And we want to make sure that we don't have, we want to make sure that our edges are nice and straight. So let me work down to this seam here, and we'll work that together. So I have just worked the last double crochet here. Now I'm going to work a single crochet into that remaining chain from the corner. So one single there. And then we're going to do a half double in the seam between those two blocks. Okay, a half double. It's going to bring up the height. Then we're going to work our remaining chain in our next rectangle, and then a single crochet into each double all the way across. So the only half double that we did was in the seam. Everything else is a single crochet. So go ahead and work the same way all the way down your blanket. And I'll meet back up with you when we reach our triangles again, and we'll do our join. And I'll show you how we are crossing over that join as well. So we've reached our triangles, and I worked in the last chain of this corner, and then I'm just going to do the same thing I've been doing throughout. In the seam, I'm going to do a half double crochet right in the middle of that seam there, and then continue up the triangle by working in the remaining chain that's there, and then a single crochet in each double crochet, and working our points up here exactly the same way we did on the other side. And then once we are done with this side with the points, you're just going to work down the opposite side of the blanket the exact same way that we did, and then we'll meet back when we are ready to start adding the tassels. Now we're ready for our tassels. So we are going to be putting tassels on each point of our triangles here on the end of our blanket. And sorry for the glare on this book, but we are going to start wrapping around a book that you want the length of your tassels to be. Mine is about 8 to 8.5 inches long this way. Now, if you want to adjust the length of your tassels, either shorter or longer, it will affect the yardage that I have listed for you. So just keep that in mind if you are doing your tassels a different length. So I'm going to wrap around this book 10 times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I have the tail that I held down at the bottom here, and then where I'm ending my wrap over here as well. I'm going to snip that and then cut the bottom of these tassels. And I have that held on the back side here. I have those like that. And then what you're going to do is take your blanket and that chain 2 space that you had down here, you're going to put your hook up through that chain 2 space and take your tassels. Now make sure that your ends are lined up as evenly as possible, and you're going to lay that across your hook like this. Now you're going to pull those through that chain 2 space that you have your hook through. And it's going to take a little bit of practice. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm just going to show you how we're doing it, and you can use whatever technique works best for you. So then you have this loop here on the top, and we've got our tails down here. So we're just going to fold that over and pull those through that loop that we made. Like that. And then just pull on your tails and try to pull them all together so that all those ends slide up together in this loop. But if you have some stray pieces, just start grabbing one strand at a time and just give it a little tug, and you will be able to tighten up all those loops if you have some stray ones that are a little bit bumpy. So go ahead and continue doing that through all of your points, and we'll meet back when we are ready to do our final step for the blanket, and I'll be back in just a moment. So once you have all of your tassels on your blanket, we are going to trim them up so that they're nice and straight. So you can see that they are a little lopsided here on the end. So we're just going to give them a little haircut. So I'm just going to pull my fingers to the end here and just get where the majority of them are a little off and the length is too much. So I'm just going to give a little trim here like that. And then I'm going to do that with this next one. Okay, they don't need to be perfect. Just giving a little trim so they're about the same length. And just one more time, I'll show you how to do that. There, just trim off those stray ones. All right, just do that for the whole blanket on all of your tassels, and then we're going to take a look at the final result. Thank you so much, sweet friends, for sticking around for this crochet along. We have completed our 6 weeks for our winter to spring crochet along blanket, and please post all of your pictures for the blanket that you have created in our community page. I would love to see the color combinations you've chosen for this blanket. I'd love to see the finished product in all of your hard work that you have done with our crochet along. So please don't forget to do that. I would really enjoy seeing your creation. So that wraps up our winter to spring crochet along, the very first one that we've done here at Crochet with Coffee. I'm so thankful that you followed along with this crochet along, whether you did the blanket with us or you just watched. I am so thankful for that. So as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you find joy in the little things.